Got a piece of spalted beech here. It's about 5.5 inches long. I don't know, a couple inches square, kind of square. First thing I'm going to do is mount it between centers, round it up a little bit. I'm going to put a little tenon on either end so I can put it in my chuck. I use a 3/8 Bedan for that. Go to mark number 1 jaw. Okay, I'm about 4 7/8 there. So about 2 7/16 would be half. Or thereabouts. Close enough. And we'll part that in two with a thin parting tool. I don't want to lose any more stock than I just have to, so I'm going to use a homemade thin parting tool. I want this face as flat as possible. I'm going to use a 5mm Bedan to do that. Give myself a center point here. The first thing I'm going to do here now. I'm going to drill a hole slightly smaller than this glue area, at least deep enough to accept this area and the flange. That's an 1.1/8" bit, I think, is what I use for this lid. Each lid will take a different size drill bit. That should be plenty. I'll use my skew to open that hole up a little bit. That's good. This doesn't want to be a super tight fit because I want to leave room for some glue. I'm going to mark for my flange. This I want a pretty nice fit, and I want it just about as deep as the flange is thick. I use my Badan for that because it gives me a nice square bottom. Okay, that's just below the surface, which is what I want. Okay, this will get epoxied in place now. I don't know how well you can see it, but I chamfered that inside edge a little bit. That'll leave room for glue or epoxy because I don't want any squeeze out at all around this flange. So this will get epoxied in. I'll leave it set overnight. I won't put any epoxy on this. I will only put epoxy in here. That way any squeeze out will go towards the bottom and not come out the top. This one does not get epoxied in yet. I'll do some preliminary shaping and make sure I can line up the threads before I epoxy this one in. The epoxy has dried on my lid and my male threads. So before I epoxy these other threads in, I'm going to shape on this little bit and get closer to my final shape. That lets me line things up a little better. Knock the corners off this. I'm going to continue to shape on it here for a little while. I'm going to use a 3/8 bowl gouge to start with. I know that this is the diameter of my lid. It's about 1 5/8 inches. So I'm going to set my calipers about 1 7/8 inches. My finished size, I'll be about 1/8 of an inch bigger all the way around. Okay, at this point, I've got a rough shape on my box. This is actually a different box than I started with because I blew the other one up. But you can see, even though I've got it partially shaped, I'm not completely glued together. So I'm going to go ahead and glue. I'm going to go ahead and do the final gluing now. Show you how I do that. Okay, here's my box. It's turned to a rough shape. This lid is epoxied in, and these threads are epoxied in. These threads are not. I don't know if you can see that, but I've hollowed that just a little bit to give some room for squeeze out with the epoxy. These threads are on tight. I'm going to back them off just a little bit. Not even a quarter turn, just enough to say they're not tight. When I glue this together, I'm going to line the grain up. And I'm going to glue it in that orientation there. That way any epoxy will run away from this joint and it won't stick together. So we'll go ahead and do the epoxy now. I'm going to put this epoxy in. I do not want any squeeze out on this surface here, on this surface at all. I'll be very careful to get the epoxy down inside that cavity and spread it around. A nice even coverage with no squeeze out. Okay, put these two halves together and not quite line up the grain. About like that. Maybe a little tighter. Okay, I will leave that, even though this is 5-minute epoxy, that's the set time. The set time is different than the cure time. I'm going to leave it overnight, that way it'll cure, be a lot more cured when I go back to turning this. All right, see you later. There's not a lot of room in here, so I'm going to use a carbide tool for hollowing this. It's Easy Wood Tools Mini Hollower. It has a negative rake scraper on it, so it's really a nice tool. It's not a real aggressive tool, and it's kind of hard to even get a catch with it. I don't worry about getting real thin. So I'm still going to be doing some shaping on this. I don't want to go so deep that I can't form my egg, or kind of an egg shape. I'm already pretty deep there. Okay, I've got a good match on my grain. I'm probably not, when I turn this on, I'm probably not going to be running real true. I'm not really going to touch this middle area again. I'm going to work mostly on the two ends and bring those in nicely. And then if I just need to sand the middle a little bit, that's what I'll do. I was running pretty good.